It is Monday. Thank goodness. And I'm going to redo the things I promised people last week because the end of the month always gets ahead of me and whatever. And now we're heading into Christmas. Lots of goodies on my website, www.healyourhealthnow.com. There'll be a lot of great recipes. I'm focusing on Christmas. The best and worst of Christmas is coming out on Thursday. So please sign up for my list. You do that by going to opt into Is Your Gut Good? Opt-in, which is a great opt-in. It's a great little quiz to find out if your gut is good. So do that. But today I'm talking about what is immunity again. If you saw the one last week, but I wanted to review it and talk about that because it's really important. It's really important right now that we focus on immunity because the pandemic has gone on now almost 2 years. Almost 2 years. And I think almost 2 years ago, I actually had COVID. Don't know because there was no dialogue at the time. But, 76, I was 75 then. And I had a light case of it. Went on for a long time, lots of coughing, but I had a very light case, recovered fully. And I really attribute that to the fact that I really work on boosting my immunity. As a matter of fact, I took my immune tonic this morning. Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about that. I think I'm Friday when I talk about supplements for immunity, but I want to give you a whole treatise, as it was, or a little outline about what is immunity. Because it's kind of complicated. I really tried to simplify it, but here's some history. This was interesting when I researched it. It says the earliest known reference to immunity was during the plague of Athens in 1430 BC. So someone was smart. There were a lot of smart guys in Greece at that time floating around. And this was Thucydides, who was a philosopher and actually, I think, a general. He noticed that people who had the disease and recovered from it didn't get sick again and basically could treat the sick, which was very interesting. And there's a whole huge thing about immunity for people looking at it over the years. And of these, one of them was, Louis Pasteur, who actually developed the germ theory of disease, and Paul Ehrlich, and Elie Metchnikoff, who was one of the discovered microscope, and all of these people. But it's only in the last 50 years that we have a really good idea about what the immune system actually is. And we didn't have a good idea because it's not a system. It's not an organ like a heart or a lung or whatever. It's a bunch of cells in a bunch of places. The interesting thing is that the biggest place it's in is in your gut. And that's why I'm always so concerned about healing your gut, because when you heal your gut, you heal the immune system. And this was kind of an interesting, this is from the Vaccine Mom. I like this because it's such a simple one. There are so many different kinds of cells in the immune system that live in these places, these little, places. They're mostly in what's called the GALT, the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, which is a bunch of cells that are in the mucus. I know, lymphoid mucus, whatever. It's very complicated. I didn't want to go there because explaining that is just too much. But the interesting piece is this is kind of a really good, I love this little thing, this little infographic, because this is interesting. and the way she explains it is so easy. The macrophage. Now, macrophage in Latin means big eater. And these are actually literally cells that go and they eat things. They're one of the parts of the immune system. So what it does is it grabs the germ, what's called the germ, but it's really any kind of foreign invader, anything that the immune system terms a foreign invader, which could be anything. And when you have autoimmune, basically the foreign invader is your body, which is kind of not a great thing. So it does that. It grabs it. It actually reads its DNA, which is very interesting. That's not the only cell, but this is a very, very simple thing. And there's two main things that happen. Number one, this is called the cytotoxic T cell, and this just kills it. It kills it. The other thing that happens over here is the T helper, and it's called a helper because it does help. It shows the antigen, which is the DNA of the foreign invader, whatever that is, to another kind of cell in the immune system called the beta cell or the B cell. And it reproduces, okay, and it makes antibodies. Now, antibodies are another way that the immune system can kill things, all right? So, and then the antibodies mark whatever the foreign invader is for destruction. That, and the cytotoxic T cell then kills it. There are other cells in the immune system that kill it too, but that's pretty much what happens. So here's the deal. When you like if you get, I always use this because it's the simplest thing. So you get a cut, and I do that a lot because I'm cooking. So you get a cut or you get a burn, which I do a lot too. And you'll notice that it gets inflamed. Well, that's what happens when the immune system springs into action. It gets inflamed, and those cells come to that place, and they literally work on the inflammation, right? They work on killing the foreign invaders. If you've got a cut, stuff is going in there, they want to kill it. Then you have this inflammation, and because when you get a cut, it gets red and all of that. Well, this is what's happening in your gut if stuff is leaking into your gut. So that's one of the reasons why, as a good gut queen, I'm very concerned with that, really. And when you're looking at it, you want to deal with, okay, here's another little infographic I have here. So the antigen, remember, that's kind of whatever the foreign invader is. Invade, and antibodies form, and you saw that, okay? Then antibodies remove the whatever's there, okay? The foreign invader. And the antibodies remain and protect. That's one of the reasons why we, when we do get a disease like Thucydides years ago we have antibodies, we make antibodies that protect us from future infection. And that's one of the reasons why vaccinations are good, because the body is making antibodies to protect you from further stuff. Okay. But when you have an autoimmune disease, and this is the bottom one, okay, the immune system forms the antibodies, but I always say the antibodies get confused and they start attacking. And again, you're getting inflammation, but it's of a different kind. When the antibodies are attacking your own tissues, then you get inflammation, internal inflammation, okay, which pretty much destroys your gut, destroys the immune system, which is why I'm so passionate about it. Anyhow, so really, I was very lucky when I got COVID because it was a very light case. It went on for a long time, but it was a very light case. My girlfriend, Annalise, was not so lucky. She basically got very sick and almost died, was in the hospital. And she's a sommelier, which is a wine expert. And it took her almost a year to get her nose. You need a nose, a good smeller when you're, a wine expert, because you have to smell the wine. Took her almost a year, but it's coming back. So that's today. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk more about the immune system and why it's so important for us to have a good one. And have a good day. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Dietitian Jill signing off. Bye-bye.